Hello there, I'm Lloyd Evans. Welcome to The Bunker. Today I have the enormous pleasure of interviewing a good friend of mine and fellow activist, this time from Norway, Jan Nilsen. Thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for letting me on. Appreciate it.
It's wonderful to catch up again. You've obviously been on the channel before, helping out as a Watchtower in Focus, as it was then, panelist. And your insights are very, very helpful because there's been a lot going on in your country, and we can't say that about every country. You know, there aren't activists in every single country operating to the same levels of activity. And so I think there are lots of stories going on in other countries that we don't really hear much about. But you've been very busy in Norway, which we'll get to.
It's been a lot.
How did you first get involved in the Jehovah's Witness religion?
There's a long story. I was born and raised as a pretty normal upbringing. My father is an elder. We were 4 brothers and sisters, 3 brothers, 1 sister. The usual growing up, nothing special that gets it apart from the regular born in, I guess.
Sure, although when your father is an elder, there are certain expectations to live up to because his qualifications depend to at least some extent on how he's raising his family and whether they're taking the truth seriously.
Yes, actually, he was appointed an elder about 5 months after I moved out from home.
Oh, okay. So that's not so bad.
So it probably says something about me. I never figured out if those 2 things were connected, but I wasn't a bad child. I was kind of average, did a little wrong here and there, but nothing big. So I don't think that was connected. He was a ministerial servant when I was a child. So, yeah, but he's an elder now, and he's been an elder for 25 years.
What was it that sort of led to you beginning to realize there were sort of cracks in this illusion of it being the quote unquote truth? You know, what led to you starting to have doubts about the whole thing?
I was a bright and shining JW when I was a teenager for a few years. When I was 16, 17, 18, 19 years, I was auxiliary pioneering. I was really good in holding speeches, and I really believed it. But I always had this, black dog, the depressions and the dark mind. Always struggled with that. So already in age 19, 20, I really hit my first wall, and I never really recovered from it when it comes to spirituality. I kind of resigned on the career, and I kind of lost motivation. But I never really took the stand. I just, I got married kind of early, like JVs do. I started working. I've got children. I focused on them. And then the years just go. Suddenly you have spent 20 years in that position. And even though I had my doubts, I never really worked on them. I just suppressed them, as I think very, very many JVs do. They just live their life. They go to meetings, they pick up something here and there, but they don't really challenge their beliefs. And I never did that. So, and when I got kids, I was very, very focused on my kids. They kind of was my healing from the depressions. And in meetings and conventions, I just started, most of the time I just took care of them. Conventions, I walked around with them, and so the whole religion kind of faded a bit. I was locked away from meetings because of the children. They had to go to bed, and so the years just passed. But when I was age 37, 36, everything just crashed down. on all parts. There were several different lines that all come together like the perfect storm, if you know what I mean. So,
I would imagine the fact that you had these mental health issues that, let's face it, when you're in the Jehovah's Witness religion, they don't have a healthy attitude towards mental health. It's almost something that isn't supposed to exist. It's supposed to be Jehovah's happy people, isn't it?
Yes, there are a lot of depressed JWs, but the solution is often just to mute everything and wait for Armageddon to fix everything, and wait on Jehovah and never really do anything about it. So I for many years I took what you call it in English, antidepressants. Yeah. Didn't really help, of course, because there was a lot of things that, and I was probably not a good husband or good company, because there was always this darkness, and I spent most of my energy just being a father, focusing on that. So the years went by, and what can you say?
And then you had this sudden sort of crisis, age 36, 37, you mentioned.
Yes, there were several things. It's kind of hard to explain too much without giving away personal details, but so I apologize.
This is your story, and it's yours to tell however you wish. So
I will. Yeah. So, but to my ex-wife, I do apologize if I say something. I don't mean to exploit anything. I'm just trying to explain. But we both had a pretty good marriage, and we had 3 kids, small kids, and then what can I say? We had our different paths out. We're both out, but we had our different paths. But the last 2-3 years we lived together, I knew that she was on her way out as a LGBT person, as a gay. And that, of course, was a struggle for both of us as JWs, as parents for 3 children. And none of us were really awake. We had doubts, but we weren't mentally healed. So it was a situation where none of us, there is no honorable way out in any way, not from the religion, not from the marriage. We had 3 children. And both of us, we kind of sat in it too long. We lived together for, what could it be, 3 years, 2-3 years in this situation with 3 children, and mental health that were just ripping us both apart on our different places in life. We both had our different struggles. But at the same time, I knew that this was kind of my way out, because it's so much easier when you I knew that she would be out in sooner or later, and my children would grow up with a mother who had a relationship with a woman, and that could never happen among the Jehovah's Witnesses. And that kind of gave me an opening to really start thinking, what do I do from here? Can I raise my children in this situation? If I were to do that, then I need to be sure. I need to know that this is right. And so I opened up for real research, and then how it goes. It all just comes crashing down. But at the same time, during this period, my mental health got really bad. It was terrible. So I got included in this heavy therapy program at the hospital. That was both directly with a therapist and group sessions. It was twice a week for almost 2 years. And I went in there. I remember I went in there to the first session, and first there was a lot of hours just finding out about my life. And I was like probably many other JWs who goes to therapy. They start by saying, I am a Jehovah's Witness, but it's not that.
Yeah, couldn't possibly be that.
No, it couldn't be that. It's me. There's something wrong with me.
Yeah,
I have it in my blood. There's darkness in my genes. It's not Watchtower's fault. I'm not saying it is Watchtower's fault. Might have been struggling anyway, because some people just have this darkness. I know it's not just JW, so I don't blame them necessarily for it, but it didn't help either, you know. So
well, it can't help to have your life micromanaged to the degree that Jehovah's Witnesses have their lives controlled.
Yes, and to get locked in a situation where there's no escape, there's no honorable way out for any of us. But I got into this therapy, and my therapist was like, okay, we'll see about that. She respected it for a while, but there were so many sessions, like probably 100 sessions, and she was amazing. A very strong, intelligent therapist, Marit Olsen, and also the group sessions, because when you are in a group with like 13 people with different stories, and I keep telling things from my life, and they just, what? You start to realize how distant you are from other people's lives, and how much things are really hurting. So that was for a while I managed to hold on, but the therapy was really strong, and it kind of broke everything around me. It tore me down, all the shells you put around you to protect you, kind of, as a JWA or as a person with mental problems. You often build up this wall. You have
to confront many truths about yourself, perhaps, that you're in denial over.
So you get in this tear down the wall situation, if you know Pink Floyd. And when it all comes crashing down, then there's just nothing left. So for me, this was it was not good. It was life-threatening, and it was just a total crisis. So at my lowest, from a therapy session, they just locked me up. So I was in a hospital for like a month at this point. So just to get me on my feet again, and then slowly started. From there, it kind of slowly started to heal, but it took a lot. And during all this period, I built up lots of research, and I also built up this urge to say something. You know, you probably recognize it. It's not right. I can't just walk away in silence. I need to tell my own story. I need to define who I am and where I'm going. I'm not just letting them. I'm not going to let them tell this story. So that's kind of my personal way into activism, to take the mental health aspect. But there was also, at the same time as it all came crashing down, we had this huge child sexual abuse happening to someone real close to me. And that was before I was really awake. I had kind of faith in Watchtower when this process started. I spoke to the CEO, Øyvind Djupvik, when he was there to talk to me about it, and he said all the right things. And I was kind of, this is not bad. They know what they're doing. And within the 2, 3, 4 next months, everything that you have read about happened around us. The only focus was to silence us. I remember my brother-in-law, who also is an elder, he just said it straight out to me. It's bad that this happened, but the only thing we need to focus on now is to keep Jehovah's name clean. Just said it straight out. Yeah. and you have this victim close to you that just needs, I don't care about Jehovah's name right now. I want him to be punished. I want the victims to define how to deal with it. It's not just some elders. But there was so much. We were told to wait. What happened is that this old man was caught red-handed in Spain. He was 83 years old at the time, and he was caught doing an abuse on his new wife's granddaughter, a small girl. Terrible story, and this blew up and came in the newspapers. And when they came to tell us, several victims just popped up, including one close to me, who he had been a stepdad to when he was an elder in this local congregation. He was the Cobe and the leading elder in this small, it's just like 35 publishers. And he had been the leading elder for many years when he was the stepdad to my friend. And of course abused her, and there were at least 3-4 other victims we heard about. And the CEO came, and he was like, he had this flaming talk and said, everything will go to the police. We will tell everyone, and you just need to trust us, and you don't have to do anything. You can just wait on the elders, and they will handle the police. They will back you up. And then a few months passed. We didn't hear anything, and we thought, yeah, probably works slow. It takes a bit of time. Fools. And the branch sent the old, what you call them now, the coordinator, and the new CEO, Øyvind Dahl and Dagfinn Stensvik, to the congregation. At this time, I realized something was going on, so I didn't meet them. I was really sick at that time, so I didn't talk to them, but I heard other people talked about it, and then the whole focus had switched into just shutting everything down. So my guess it was the legal department at Holbeck who stepped in. And then suddenly, and I found just randomly a newspaper article saying that the abuser had been sentenced in Spain to the abuse he was caught for. And he got a mild sentence because there was no information that he had done anything like this before. Nothing was shared to the police. Later, I found out that the one report to the police in Norway that I knew was put in, it was pulled back. So the JW who had filed the report had pulled back her report, and I didn't tell the victim close to me didn't even know.
And you have a congregation being told, "Don't worry, we're reporting this. You don't need to do anything because we're reporting it." And months go by when it could have been reported, and as you say, this individual would probably or certainly have had a harsher sentence if there'd have been evidence of other abuse.
Spanish courts knew nothing about it, and he even took back his first admission and blamed what you call it, a translator. So he could actually have he could have been off, and he's out now. A few years later, he's out because there was no other victim. So, and what happened that is there
were victims. It's just that there was a breakdown of communication due to Watchtower.
Yes, they didn't tell anyone, and the abuses in Norway are too old. What you call it, the statutory limit is gone. So there's no point in filing those reports here. But they would have been important testimonials in the court case in Spain if they were heard. Of course, we would have told those stories, and he would still be in jail instead of going out now and going to meetings again. So this was, at this point, I just realized that this is what can you say? There was so much. And also what happened is that the mood of the congregation and people kind of turned against the victims, the few victims who still, they didn't want to hear more about it. This is done now. We don't want to talk about it. If you talk about it, you're just ruining the mood for everyone.
You have to forgive your abuser. Yeah,
and of course the abuser's family is still elders in the same small congregation and controlling the narrative.
Oh, right, yeah.
So it's kind of difficult. I know it's hard for everyone. I'm not saying it's easy for anyone, but it's just you've read so much about it in different stories, and then you suddenly have it on your own in the whole.
And children need to be protected. For every second that nothing is done, that's a second when something terrible can happen to a child. So
yes, and this person had been abusing children for. I can't say. Yeah, I'm not giving anyway, but he had been abusing children for probably his whole grown-up life, because some of the victims that came forward was like 40 years back in time. And the worst thing is that he kind of, when he married a woman with a child, and people had to have known at that point. Some people knew. So that was kind of my way into, at this point, my activism began based on this story, because I couldn't just let it go. At this point, I had started to reach out. I realized now at this point that I was going out. So I started reaching out to some old friends I grew up with that I knew was out. So at this point, I met my old friend Philip Ring, very nice friend, who stepped up and took care to what you say, took imot. He received me, and we had these great conversations about everything for like youth. And he had been out for like 10 years at this point, 10, 15 years. And I told him about the story. And he told me, I know a journalist. Let me tip in. So he put me in touch with Fædrelandsvennen, Tarjei Ler Salvesen and Conny Benstrud. And they started digging into this story. It took a long time. They spent more than a year. They went to the convention, summer convention. They traveled to Spain. They actually interviewed a lot of JWs. They kind of got into this story. And then, I can show you. This was the result.
Wow.
The 87-year-old is in jail in Spain, convicted for assault against a girl age 4. The man was an elder among Jehovah's Witnesses. It's 12 pages.
And what's the date on that article?
Yeah. This is April 2018. There is an English translation of this article without paywall. It's really strong. So this was, they even traveled to the congregation in Spain, included links, Guardian, BBC News, Newsweek, Reveal. So this was an incredibly strong article. Here is the congregation in Spain. They even made JWs join. It's incredible.
I'm sure they wouldn't have cooperated that extensively if they'd known what it was leading to. Yeah,
that was the trick. They were smart. And this story was also printed in 2 other newspapers and also made available online, several other places, and resulted in a lot of follow-up stories. So this was kind of the first. There was a lot of research. They got the Shepherd the Flock book. They got all those letters about child sexual abuse, how they collected information, and they got to talk to several of the victims. So it's a great article. You can find it online. Maybe you can include
a link. Will be below.
Yeah. But what happened is during this, when Tarjei and Conny made this article, there was so much research. So when they had published this article after a year of research, they had so many stories. They had voices that came forward. They had really strong stories. So a few months later, they published this newspaper. This is the way Jehovah's Witnesses operates outside of the normal court system, where they focus on the judicial committees. They have 3 different stories, 3 women who tell their stories, about how it's domestic violence, how it is treated. It's about how they treat people who take an abortion, and how they treat the judicial system. With this one was nice. Thanks to Jason Wynn, we got the Norwegian Shepherd book.
Yeah, that's the 2010 version, isn't it?
Yeah, it was that one. And this was a really strong article, and they won an award for it. It was named the news story of the year in the south of Norway. The journalist won. So this was a really good article. That one is also available in English.
And you quite extensively involved in both, despite having only recently yourself woken up to the realization that this is a damaging cult.
Yes, I'm not. It's the journalists' work. They worked a lot for it, so I'm not taking any credit for it. But you know how it works with getting sources, getting voices, fact checking. So it put me into this kind of activism. Yes, but of course it's the journalists. It's their work, and they did an amazing work. There's a trilogy, as I call it, because they also included this one, the blue envelopes.
Oh, of course, yeah.
This one is December 2018, and they traveled to Ireland and spoke to Jason Wynn, and they also include a very strong story told by someone I know who stepped up and told her story anonymously about domestic violence. And how the congregation didn't believe her until she got out, and her ex-husband then got sentenced to jail. It's a very strong story. So they did great work, Tarjei and Connie. And what happened during this period is I did research, I got voices, I found people willing to talk, and then another journalist, Bjørn Markussen, approached me, and he said he would really like to write an in-depth story about those who don't believe anymore, those who struggle. And he asked me, "Can you find someone for me?" And I was like, "Yeah, I could probably find someone." And then I can't keep asking other people to step up. So this was the moment. At this point, I said, "I'm here. What do you want?" And this was in my darkest hour, kind of. So I was in a really bad place. But I said, "Okay, I'm not. I can speak. I'm not ashamed of my troubles, so I can talk to you."
Despite not being ashamed, presumably at this point, you still had quite a lot to lose in terms of your links to believing family.
Absolutely.
And having raised children in the religion.
Absolutely. So this was, I'm still anonymous at this point, but we agreed to start having conversations. So for, how long was it? 1.5 years. We kept meeting regularly. He came here to my town and met me, spoke to me. I went to him, we spoke on the phone, and he just took notes. He said, I don't know what this leads to. I'm not sure what we can do, but I will follow your journey and make something out of it. And at this point, I thought I was just one of many voices, and I would just kind of be included in a small paragraph in the article. That was kind of what I was hoping for at that point. But that didn't happen. They put me on the front like this. It's called Breaking with Jehovah's Witnesses documentary. And the title, if you leave or if you
disassociate.
Yeah, if you dissociate, he's risking to lose all contact with his daughter. And that was kind of my worst nightmare in all of this, was to have my children growing up be Jehovah's Witnesses and then shun me. I wasn't that afraid of being shunned from anyone else, but this was one of the really hard thoughts to me, and know for many other people, that you can handle to lose your siblings or your parents in worst case. It's sad, of course, but to lose your own children, it would kill me for real. And we spoke a lot about that. So they included 6 pages on this. The article was kind of, it became really strong, kind of. We have this quote here: "It's hard to disappoint our parents so much that we are no longer their child." Yeah,
it's true.
It's true. So the article became very strong, and it led into a series. So for 7 days, the newspaper had Jehovah's Witnesses on the front page. They had 3 different stories. They had the childcare services talking about what this does to children's mental health, and we even got my therapist on the front page.
Oh wow, well, that's nice, isn't it?
It was. I kind of released her from the silent agreement.
Oh, of course, because she would be contractually or legally obliged to stay quiet about anything you divulge, but you released her from that so that she could share your story.
I said, can you talk to the journalist? He wants to talk to you. And she really stepped up. She's an amazing person, and she just spoke out. She told me that she'd probably get in trouble for it from future customers, but she had enough, so she also needed to speak out on this. So that was really strong to see. And she says isolation and shunning is the most brutal punishment when it comes to mental health.
Well, there's a reason why they use,
of course, they know
what do they call it now? They have a name for it, but they use isolation in the prison system, don't they?
Yeah.
Sorry, solitary confinement. That's
solitary confinement,
where they put a prisoner in a prison cell by themselves for maybe a week or so, and it's used as a punishment in the prison system. So people understand how this works. It psychologically batters you to be disconnected from other human beings, especially those you care about.
Yeah, especially your own children. That is a real threat. That you in your dark mind, in your worst moments, you picture a future where your own children won't even speak to you. And for me, that was unbearable. So we had this was really a great series. This was for 1 week. We had one huge article every day. There were written opinions, editorials about it. So Bjørn Markussen, the journalist, did excellent work. He also had one article with Shepherd, the Flock book. Put that on the front page again. Jehovah's Witnesses secret manual.
Not so secret anymore.
No, he even tried. He tried to make a download of it on the newspapers below the article, but the lawyers in the newspaper stopped it. We were so close to getting it. So that was kind of my first wave with media. It was really exhausting.
That was the first wave. All of that was just the first wave.
Yes, it was the first wave, because the achievement I'm most happy with is the second wave. We can get back to that, but at this point I'm starting to heal. Kind of, it solves. We work it out at home. We split up, shake hands, and it kind of worked out between me and her. We have a great relationship now. We are friends.
Your ex-wife, you mean?
Yeah. Yes. We at this point we started both to. We didn't go out together because it's almost impossible in a situation like this, because we got divorced, of course, and. But we found our different paths. She found a great girl that she's happy with. We share custody of the children. They live 50% would you say, half and half at both. We're practically neighbors, so they can just run back and forth. Children are real.
You said when you were discussing the headlines in the article that one of your biggest fears was losing your children. So did that ever become a real threat?
Yeah, at this point, my daughter was 12 years old, maybe. It took so many years, so it's kind of hard to just say. But at the first point, she really believed, and she wanted to, hug pandas and live forever. And also the congregation used her. They had secret studies with her that we didn't know about. They met her after school. We found out later. I had to watch her phone records and discover that they went straight on her, and they gave her the mission to get her parents back.
Whoa, hang on a minute. Yeah, I'm sorry. So there were members of your previous congregation arranging outside of the permission of you and your wife to meet your children at school with the aim of coercing them against you and their mother.
My daughter. Well, I even started the process with the police, and I found a lawyer to get restraining warrants. But it never went so far because I told I have my ex's mother is still a JWay, and we talked to her, so I think she passed it on that now.
But were the people who were meeting your daughter at school, were they in any way related to you?
No. It was they probably meant it well, They just want to save, give us eternal. In their minds, this is okay.
If it's maybe even an aunt or an uncle, you can sort of, this is my niece sort of thing. But for them to not even be related and going to your child's school to meet your child to try and turn your child against you,
picked her up.
That's just ridiculous.
I found her phone records, and every week at the same time they contacted her.
I like the way you just sneak that in as though it's an irrelevant detail. That is ridiculous.
There was just so much. But what's sad is that this put her in, of course, a child in a terrible situation. So I can't talk too much about this because it's her privacy.
I know.
But it was hard for everyone. But it's going really well. We got out. My two boys are younger, so we kind of left before they just remember it as boring meetings and stuff. So that has gone really well, and we are kind of a really modern, twisted family, but we are happy, and all the children are way more happy now than they were at
That's really
the time.
Good to hear.
So it was really difficult for everyone. So it has turned out well, and we all are a modern, friendly family, and we have a lot of fun together.
But it could have turned out differently, and it sounds like what the difference was that you were, dare I say it, and I realize you're holding back a lot of details, as is your right, but you were able to help your children so that they didn't feel as though they needed to shun you, even though that's what the religion was requiring of them. We kind of just left everything. We just left the religion. We didn't go to meetings anymore. And when you're a child and you get out of the toxic environment, if I can say that, it fades. And then after a while, it's like a bad dream. So and I don't think children are naturally drawn to go twice a week to windowless buildings and listen to old men drone on about boring subjects. Yeah.
And then so the boys they just forgot about it, and the oldest just slowly started other interests: music, films, books, social life, environmental issues, lots of other interests. And then it just fades away, the old life. So it has turned out really well, and my children are amazing.
I'm thrilled. That's
really
brilliant.
good. And so I don't fear they would. There's not any fear in my heart that they will go back in. And of course, we are shunned also, so they don't know any JWs. I don't have any family. It's just us. I don't have anyone outside.
So having sorted this out so that, from going to this terribly dysfunctional arrangement, you're dysfunctional but in a positive way where you're all able to be free, basically. How did this second wave that you're alluding to come about?
Yeah, and then we're back into activism, and that was I was approached during all of this. I built up a kind of a connection network, different journalists. We have Hjelpekilden in Norge, who is an organization that started as ex-JW, but now has lots of cults. They also have a lot of connections and get phone calls from journalists. And so this is the summer of 2019. I was approached by a journalist from Vårt Land. It's a kind of a Christian newspaper, but modern, not this old conservative. They are kind of a modern, but they are focused on religion and other news, of course. Nice newspaper. She approached me and she said she wanted to write about, she had heard that witnesses are not allowed to vote. And she wanted someone who can help her doing research and maybe tell a story. That was Chi Pang. So we spent a lot of time doing research. I sent her a lot of information. And she wrote this story about how the voting suppression works, because this is illegal in most countries, including Norway. Of course, you are allowed to not vote. That's okay, but you are not allowed to punish people who vote.
Am I right in saying that
suppression?
Am I right in saying that, because I remember vaguely about this when it came out, that, in Norway, religions like Jehovah's Witnesses receive money from the government.
Yeah,
so
lots of money.
Obviously an ethical issue for an organization to be receiving money in that way, while in effect subverting the democratic process by encouraging people to not vote.
Yes, and it also makes Watchtower fear it, because they want their money. So this gives us some extra leverage, because they will fight for it. And during this research, I told Chechi about, the QFR from, it's 10, 15 years ago, where they say that
when Jan says QFR, he means questions from readers, just for translating for viewers who aren't Jehovah's Witnesses, There is an article saying voting is voluntarily or something. Every JW knows what that means, but there is an article that's with some legal trickery. So I was kind of expecting them to use that one, but they didn't. They admitted when Watchtower in Holbeck got approached about this, they actually admitted that if you vote, then you are considered disassociated and shunned, of course. So that was kind of interesting. I'm not sure if it slipped out or if the legal department wasn't paying attention, because this turned out. I don't have the first newspaper here, but it really blew out. Chichi won an award for these articles. It was called. She won an award. It was the substitute summer journalist story of the year, because she was only there for the summer. So she won this award. The second article included even my first time I voted, I took a selfie. So they included my selfie in the article, where I tell the story about how while I was faded, I snuck into the voting poll to vote for the first time, and I took the selfie, and I tell them if this was discovered, I would lose. They would punish me for it. And Watchtower admits this. So this blew up, and this went to the top level of government, parliament, different kind of organizations, about human rights organizations put in, and the minister of religion in Norway declared that they want to. This could affect the funding. They get about 2 million euros a year in cash, just in free cash, from the Norwegian government every year. And they demanded an explanation
from Watchtower about this, and said that this funding is under threat. We might withdraw it because you break so many laws. And of course, Watchtower, they never fail to make up a lie. So they sent a letter where they confirmed that anyone voting would be considered disassociated. But in the letter, and that letter we got access to is because of there's rules for that in Norway, public documents. In the letter, they declare that shunning doesn't affect family relations.
Which is a total lie.
Yes, of course it is. Everyone knows that. But it's the same wording. They point to their website with the article, the article where they say that normal families relations continue after the...
Apart from the fact that no one talks to each other, normal family relations resume.
You can come to the Kingdom Hall, it says. You're free. I can go to the Kingdom Hall and sing the songs, of course, because that's what I want to do.
That's almost as good as having my family relationships, being able to go to the Kingdom Hall.
Yeah,
wow,
so that is my dream. Okay, so this, at all this way, at this point, I had been faded. I have been anonymous in all articles, and I had even most people shun me. I had some contact with my parents and my siblings, and at this point, during all this period, I was active on Reddit with a pseudonym, Frode Nilsen. But I had also developed.
Should have mentioned your full name, Jan Frode Nilsen. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yes, Frode.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I was active on Reddit with the username Frode Nilsen, if anyone remembers that. But that one was also anonymous. But I had slowly started using Twitter, and the Twitter handle was not anonymous. It was JF Nilsen. It's the same handle as I use on Instagram and emails and everything. So it was kind of my way of saying that I'm not afraid anymore. If you find this, then okay, it's me. Do it. Just do whatever you want with me. And so that happened. Someone close to me found that as a JWay and started spreading the news that I was talking bad against God's people. I had given my soul to Satan practically. They all knew I was kind of losing faith and slipping away, but as long as I didn't speak out against Jehovah, then, and I wasn't DF'd, then they didn't shun me completely.
I'm a bit confused though, because wouldn't the first wave of your activism have revealed your identity? And
I was anonymous, and
right.
The first articles didn't really... wasn't about me personally, so it wasn't so easy, but the interview where they followed me, I was still anonymous.
Oh, I see.
But when we get to this point of time, after they found my Twitter handle, then the shunning started. I was still
But your children were aware of the first wave of media? Yeah, okay.
No, I didn't really include them. They were small.
But did they know about them? Did they know that Daddy had been in the newspapers?
Not really. Not at this point. I didn't want to bring my children too much into this. At this point, they were small, and we didn't really discuss stuff like this that much. I kind of wanted to leave them out of it.
Yeah, definitely.
Just let them be kids, let them play. And
I'm only thinking in terms of the impact in terms of shunning. Yeah. So, shunning was obviously featured in the first wave, and you saying, I could lose contact with my daughter, by speaking in this way. And, you're saying that all of this was taking place from the perspective of a faded Jehovah's Witness. But in this second wave, you were upfront about your real identity.
Yes, that's where we are now. At this point, they had started shunning. My parents had shunned me. My mother sent me a message. So at this point, when Watchtower sent the letter claiming family relations continue as normal, then I had enough, because I was in the middle of being shunned, and they write letter. So this is the end of my fate, kind of. Here they put me on, this is me speaking out against this letter.
Sure.
Here I use my full name for the first time, picture and everything. And
when you say you were already
this is not a fade.
No. when you say you were already being shunned, just to clarify for viewers, presumably you mean you were being preemptively shunned as bad association because you weren't going to meetings and that sort of thing.
Yes, I was kind of what you call it. I was an apostate. I was declared an apostate. So they didn't DF me. I still took 6 months or so before they DF'd me. But one after one, my family approached me. It was kind of a weird time. It was like attending your own funeral, if you know, because I wasn't DF'd yet. I think they kind of felt that they could say goodbye to me and have conversations. So I had the conversations.
So how did these go? Was it like, it was nice knowing you?
Yeah, it was kind of, it was text-based. I didn't call, we didn't talk, but I got messages from like my brother-in-law, my sister, my siblings, my mom. And it was kind of nice to know you. We had fun at that point, and it was like kind of a funeral. There were so many weird stories. I don't know how many to tell.
And these messages, were they in response to the newspaper article that you just showed us?
No, it was the Twitter. They realized it was filled with apostasy.
But did they have anything to say about what you were saying on Twitter? So did they even try to respond to any of the...
There was no discussion. They didn't want to discuss anything about the religion. It was just about me and how I was an apostate. And but it was there were a lot of nice messages. It was kind of nice to know you, love you, brother. Bye. My mother sent me a message that she loved me, but she couldn't have anything to do with an apostate, and it was with tears and goodbye, kind of, and that was it. My father, I don't know if I can even tell the story. It's a long story. My father did something really weird. When I was a child, when I grew up, when I was 15 years old, in the bookshelf, among Dad's things, I found 2 guitar books. It was a Bob Dylan guitar book and a Leonard Cohen guitar book. It was just down there. He had never showed any interest in stuff like this, and I took them to my room. And for the next day, I played that Leonard Cohen book for thousands of hours. It taught me all those songs. I love that book. I was depressed, so I was a lot of time alone, just sitting with a guitar and learning myself those amazing songs. And I had a strong relationship to those artists later. I went to 5 Leonard Cohen concerts, got every record, listened all the time. My dad never showed any interest in it. I didn't think he cared about those books at all. If I knew, I wouldn't have taken them. But for 25 years, I had those books in my bookshelf. I took them when I moved away. I brought them with me, and there was never an issue. I never thought about it. He always knew I had them. The only thing I heard from him...
Give me my books back.
He wanted those books back because they had emotional value to him.
Yeah, so much emotional value that he hadn't seen them for 25 years and hadn't even asked about them. That's how much emotional value they had.
So there goes his firstborn son, his 3 grandchildren. He hasn't seen them since. It's been almost 2 years now. He never said goodbye to them. No words, no emotional value. But those books, he wanted them back. And it's just so sad because my father is a really good man. He's a nice person. I always respected him. I don't have anything bad to say about him, but this is what the religion does to a man. And he loves his grandchildren. I know he does. He loves his children. He's always been a good father, apart from the religion. But this is what they made him do.
That's how it perverts and subverts people's humanity.
And it's just so sad. And I'm not angry. I'm not bitter. They always say that apostates are angry, bitter people. It's just sorrow. It's sad. I'm sad for him. I'm sad for my children who I don't have any family to offer them. We don't have anyone. It's just me. Everything just disappeared. I didn't even say goodbye to them. The grandparents, they're just gone overnight. And this is what they made them do. And this is what Watchtower wants them to do. This is what they think will get us back. I will return to Jehovah because they do this.
If I had to guess, the sort of treatment that they've dished out to you only stokes the fire in your belly when it comes to activism, rather than making you think, oh, I'd really like to go back. What am I thinking? It's such a loving, humane place to be.
Yes, what I told them is that, and this is true, if there was a back door, if I could just throw my card, say, I don't believe it, I'm going, we could just shake hands and be friends. I would never become an activist. I could have joined a convention day now and then and thought it was kind of fun just for the memories, and I wouldn't have been bitter. They can believe whatever they want. I don't really care. But all this makes me so focused on that my children, they will not experience this. I would never do to my children. When I look at my children, I would never say these things to them. I would never shun them, no matter what they do, because they are the most important thing. I would do anything for them. But my parents, they'll never say the same thing about me, because they are part of a religion that doesn't value the bond between a father and a child.
Well, they would probably, if pressed, trot out the usual, oh, we're doing this because we love our son.
Yes, and they also put themselves in the victim. It's me. I took their grandchildren away from them. Okay, so it's kind of, I'm not mad at them, because I know that this, in their head, this makes perfect sense. So it's more, what can you say? You can't just blame someone for it. It's their choice, and I respect it. So yeah, what can I say?
Well, what you can do is you can, get the word out and share your story. And you're doing that not just now, but you've, shown a track record now of very competently and coherently engaging with the media to spread the word in your country that something's desperately wrong in this organization.
And I don't know what they read and what they don't read, but I've always been extremely careful to check everything. There's never been anything wrong. There is one sentence in one article I remember where it says that alcohol was forbidden when I grew up, and we changed it online to.
Wow.
That's the only thing in all these years that I know has been wrong.
Do you mean you're not a lying apostate?
But apart from that, tell me, let me know if anything is wrong, and I will apologize to everyone for lying. But I've never met anyone who can say that.
Well, that's how cognitive dissonance works, isn't it? You don't want to be wrong, so you don't even look at what the other side is.
Yeah, it is. But at the same time, these are my stories. But as you've told, there's been a lot of other stuff in Norway. There's a lot. What we have kind of managed to do together is that because some people step up, it's so much easier for others to step up. So we've had a period, we had so many great voices. And what we often can do in Hjelpekilden, or the stuff we have together, is that when a journalist, several times I have been contacted by journalists who want, how journalists are, they read one good story one place, and they also want to make the same story. And both to me directly and through this organization, it's been asked for voices. Do you have any good ones? And then we can go in our Facebook group. I can, or Hilde Langwan, who's the leader, can put up a post. Who wants to talk to these journalists? And then people step up. It's been so many. We have like this one. This is Christine Rønningen. This is a product of a thing like that. We were asked, can you get any voices for me? And then Christine stepped up. A great article. And my friend Eirik Forfang stepped up. Same thing, never told their story. They stepped up. And it becomes these great articles, great stories that people really care. At this point, I was kind of sick of myself, so I'm just a little one there. I didn't feel I needed to.
We're not sick of you, Jan. We're not sick of you.
No, but it had been so much. And we had this, Emilia, talking about her first Christmas. It's a great story.
Wonderful.
Talking about how she came out first Christmas, brave, strong story. This one too, I'm just trying to hide in the background with a small side story. But also Helena, first Christmas, and we had this great documentary on NRK, the national broadcaster, where Louise and Ida were amazingly strong voices. No fear, just open stories, heartbreaking, telling them. So it's been, we have Naomi has told her story. There's so many different stories. And what I like about this generation, even the younger ones, is that they're not bitter and angry and hateful. It's just people getting on with their lives. Some are just happy to be out. Some experience the world outside with fresh eyes. But what's we all have in common is that we miss our family. We're not hateful or angry, but we just wish if the policy had been different, then we would just have shaken hands and moved on like people do in the rest of the world when they're
that's
children.
The sort of activism that I can really identify with, and I think it's more powerful, isn't it, when there's an absence of hate and bitterness and people are just showing love and empathy and not wanting this abusive situation to continue, but doing what they can in as positive a way as possible to get the word out. So it's wonderful that you're a part of that, and it's wonderful to see what's happening in Norway. I think it's a wonderful model that could be emulated in other countries.
It is great. And we also have these connections, of course, to other countries. We have through you, and we have, we have the Reddit community, the Twitter community, different Facebook groups. So it all blends together. We have, it's been a lot in Sweden too, where a lot of people are in the same groups. In Denmark, there's stuff going on. Just last week, I was approached by a Danish journalist who wanted to follow up on the Belgium verdict. So it's all connected. The world is not so big, and nobody needs to be alone in this. Absolutely. I think this is a big difference, and also the generation below us again, the youth who come out now, lots of them, and they have their own ways. They have their social media. To me, it looks like they weren't as isolated as maybe we were as JWs. So maybe it's easier to go out for them. It looks like this for me. It's easier to find new friends, new people.
Well, Jan, it's inspiring to hear your story and wonderful to see that from such a dark place, you're bringing so much light to people by helping empower people through engaging in the media yourself and facilitating others to step forward and share their stories. So thank you so much for what you're doing in Norway.
Yeah, thank you yourself.
And if before you go, if there is a message for anyone watching, perhaps who knows you and they're still maybe holding a candle for their Jehovah's Witness beliefs, what would your message be to them?
What can you say? Just do what you feel is right, but don't let anyone just tell you what to do. Don't let anyone tell you what to believe. Ask yourself why. Why do you believe what you believe? Why do you feel it's right to? If you shun your child, if you shun your sibling, if you shun your father, why do you do it? Who told you? Would you have done it if they didn't tell you? If it was new light next week that we dropped shunning, would you do it? And if you would drop it next week, why do you do it this week? Who is your master? Ask yourself that. And ask yourself if you would do it, if you were free to choose to do it. So I don't know, but people can believe what they want from me. I'm not trying to steal people's faith. If you want to believe in a paradise, then just believe in a paradise.
I mean, you're not a bird catcher.
No, I don't mind. I would never. But if people come ask me for resources for what I believe in, I can tell them and I can give them links to Jehovah facts and stuff like this. But you have to figure it out yourself. But don't just do what I did. Don't be 25, 30, 40 years in a place where you just exist because you don't do anything about it. Such a waste of time, and you never get that time back unless you believe in eternal life, of course. Then it wouldn't matter if you're going to live in 10,000 years anyway. But I'm not sure about that.
Indeed. Well, look, Jan, it's been inspirational speaking to you, and might I add,
thanks.
Lovely, masterful command of English and a Norwegian accent that's very easy on the ear. So lovely hearing you speak.
Thanks.
Thank you so much, Jan. Viewers, I hope you've enjoyed this conversation. I certainly have. Don't forget to subscribe to the Lloyd Evans channel for more such videos. And as always, thank you for watching.